Our next speaker is somebody that I admire very greatly. I've known her parents. My parents knew her parents, so we go back quite a ways. This woman is the mother to 13 children. Wow. If nothing else, that tells you about the patience, the resolve, the clear-headedness that she has in all that she does. She was nominated to fill a vacancy in the 10th District here in our North Carolina legislature recently to fill the vacancy of Representative LaRoque. She's the director of the Eastern North Carolina Tea Party, which consists of Craven, Lenoir, Greene, Wayne, and Pitt counties. She's above all constitutionally sound and a follower of Christ. Please welcome Ms. Karen Kozel.
Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for coming out today. What a beautiful day. I am a homeschool mom to 13 kids, and I did teach school when I lived in Chapel Hill, and I have a degree in science and a minor in history. And I will tell you from the outset, with my minor in history, I never had one class in federal or state constitution. Can you believe that? They sent me out to teach, and they hand me a curriculum. I taught physics and chemistry most of my years. I did have a few years of some history classes, which I did thoroughly enjoy. And I was shocked to read the Constitution. But guess what? It wasn't part of their curriculum. I didn't have to teach it. And most of people didn't have to teach it and didn't have time to teach it by the time you fill it with everything else. So when my kids became school age, I decided to homeschool. And it has been a delightful privilege and honor to be able to homeschool our kids. I'm going to tell you a little history. I know you've heard some history already with the Constitution. I'm going to tell you a little more. And I wanted to talk about the framers and where they got their ideas. What was their foundation? Who was the thinking body behind this group? You know, now we have Britney Spears and, I don't know, Justin Timberlake. That's probably old news now, isn't it? But that's who we have in our younger group. But we have to think about who really frames our thinking. Who is it that's influenced us? Good work out, Dave. Leo?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm going to tell you the Declaration of Independence was declared to give the independence to the states as sovereign in 1776. That was not the beginning of the United States, though. Those were separate sovereign states. John Dickinson wrote the Articles of Confederation with the committee in 1777. The articles were presented, however, it took till 1781 to be adopted. They had to wait for Maryland. You know, any state around D.C. is going to take a little bit of time. And they took till 1781 for Maryland to adopt it. The problems with the Articles of Confederation, people often say, well, why did we have to change it? Well, we had to change it because it didn't have a centralized court system, didn't have a federal court system, had no president, which right now would be an option, no tax power. The states were just required to request money for the United States government. The states had to enforce all the laws. They had to declare war. The Articles of Confederation did include declaring war, making peace, borrowing money, and we have that down pat still, don't we? Foreign affairs, and credit. Well, in 1785, as you probably remember from history, the United States ran out of credit, couldn't pay our interest. The private people that have been loaning us money, not to mention the countries, decided no more. We're not gonna loan you any more money. So we decided through the Articles of Confederation and the framers, they had to do something bigger and different. They needed a centralized government. 1785, after this death, the representatives got together, and they were described as theists with biblical beliefs. And one person they called an infidel, that was Thomas Paine. You know what he was? He was a deist. So these group of people got together and they discussed three types of government. Autocracy, or as my 5-year-old says, autocracy. So they had autocracy, which which is absolute rule by one man or one party. They looked at democracy, which is basically mob rule. It's by the whim of the majority. And they had the republic. The Republican, as citizens elect rulers to carry out the laws. Well, obviously we chose the republic. Now I'm going to look at who influenced these framers. Who were they reading about? This is all in record. You can Google it now. First person was in 594 BC. Anybody remember who that was? Solon. He was from Greece, and he affirmed that the permanent rules of the land should rule. We shouldn't have changing laws. And the people should obey the rulers who obeyed the laws. That sounds so interesting, so easy. Kind of sounds like a family, doesn't it? The children obey the parents. And he said, this will work if we have unchanging laws. That's where Benjamin Franklin said, let's keep a republic. Let's have a republic if we can keep it. This came from Solon. John Locke, he had Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin were very close students underneath the teaching of John Locke. Life, liberty, and what? The pursuit of happiness. Do you know what John Locke, do you know how he described liberty? Political equality. Do you know the pursuit of happiness was defined as? See, this is why we have problems overseas, because they get upset that Americans think they're supposed to be happy. Yet we have the high incidences of mental illness. Did you know that? It's a different kind of happy. The happy then was called moral excellence. This is a country that's adopted abortion as common. 1 million abortions in 3 years. That's what Planned Parenthood has just done. Meanwhile, Obama just gave him $67 million is being set aside for navigators. Planned Parenthood is asked to be one of these Obamacare navigators. Is that moral excellence? Is that what our framers set out? Adam Smith, he endorsed the laissez-faire. That's what it's called. Laissez-faire, free market enterprise. And the framers went nuts. You know what he thought? He thought you should preserve law and order. Enforce justice, defend the nation, provide for social needs that could not be met in the free market. Is Obamacare, is that defined there? What about Agenda 21? What about gay marriage? What laws being passed? Those are not the social needs our framers even had in mind. They were thinking roads. We should be thinking roads. We're bankrupt. Anybody know that? We're a bankrupt nation. Okay, so we have John Calvin. Anybody recognize that name? Okay, John Calvin was a Protestant leader. He had a dual desire. He wanted a religious and a political freedom. He did that hand in hand. He thought, why do we have to separate this? The biblical principles for political and economic issues. I look at the Federal Reserve. Boy, look at the banking industry. I don't think John Calvin thought things like that were going to happen. James Madison in 1787 proposed 3 branches of government. Remember, the Articles of Confederation really didn't include this, so they needed to change it. He said we're going to give the 3 branches of government from Isaiah 33:22. The Lord is called the judge, which is our court, the lawmaker, our Senate and our Congress, and the king, which is our president. So you think they had biblical influences in our Constitution. George Whitefield was a leader in religious revolution during this time. All these other people that I've mentioned, several of the framers would be under their influence. George Whitefield is the only one that every one of them sat under his teaching at some time, including Thomas Paine. They felt like the biblical framework was convenient, and it was something that they all understood. It was the only document that all of them had a reference point. 1780, Alexander Hamilton went forth to start the idea of drafting a new constitution. They were going to rewrite the Articles of Confederation but they felt they really need to draft it. American freedoms. This is what he's known for. Christianity. Alexander Hamilton, when you look him up, he said, how did he most influence his country? Christianity, and the Constitution drafted under Christian teachings. Webster wrote a good part of the Constitution. He said the Bible is a basic textbook of all areas. I bet he didn't plan on the freedom from religion group coming in, did he? Or Malin O'Hare. Anybody remember that name? We've veered. For those who fought the Constitution, the federal papers were drawn up. There were 85 essays anonymously posted. Alexander Hamilton did write the majority, the vast majority. James Madison and John Jay also wrote these. In 1789, the 10 Amendments were ratified, and of course, the 1791, 16 were added. I'm going to tell you just a little bit. I'm going to read some quotes from our founding fathers, just to lay a framework of what they were thinking. John Adams, the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It's wholly inadequate to govern any other. Are we a holy and religious people? Do we deserve the Constitution? Are we actually able to be ruled by that? We want to go back to the Constitution, but like some of the previous speakers said, maybe we need to go back to our moral ground so we can follow the Constitution as our law of the land. Alexander Hamilton, the best we can hope for concerning the people at large is that they're going to be properly armed as individuals. That sounds like it's pro-Second Amendment to me. John Adams, but a constitution of a government once changed from freedom can never be restored. Liberty, once lost, is gone forever. We cannot let that happen, and it is happening before our eyes. We've got to teach this, not only the Constitution, which is great handed out. We've got to teach this. I homeschool. You guys can homeschool. When your kids get home from school, tell them this. When you go to the Boy Scouts, volunteer. Say, I want to give a class on the Constitution. Tell them the framework, the mindset. You know, you can tell your kids don't eat candy. Sure. You tell them, well, you'll get diabetes, your teeth will fall out. You tell them the why. What is the framework before the instruction you're giving them? You shepherd their heart. We need to shepherd the hearts of our society. Ben Franklin started Ben Franklin University, and he said he's dedicating it to the nursery of religion and learning, but on Christ the cornerstone first. John Hancock talked about the First Amendment was Christianity should be encouraged by the state. Freedom of religious worship should not impede others. If there's a religion that's coming around America that's impeding or frightening us, we need to beware. We don't need to run and hide. We need to be strong. The First Amendment said that religion should not scare us. When we lose the First Amendment, the other ones are going to come toppling down. Listen to Thomas Paine. Now this is the one infidel. He's talking about education. The evil that has resulted from the error of schools. Now remember, this is the one guy that, is the teaching of natural philosophy as accomplishment. It has been generating pupils in a species of atheism. Instead of looking at works and science to the Creator in the creation, they employ the knowledge and acquired doubts of His very existence. Isn't that happening? It was happening when I was teaching. I wasn't allowed to teach creation. I taught an Earth history class. So I took a class on how to teach creation. And I did. I set it up as two theories. There's a theory of man and there's a theory of God. And I went through both of them. I went straight through evolution as a theory of man, and I went straight through creation as a theory of God. Incidentally, I got evaluated that day, a surprise evaluation. I kept my job. But anyway, James Madison. We stake the future of America not on the adoption of this power of government, but to over the ability to sustain ourselves according to the Ten Commandments. Jedediah, which I think is a really cool name if I ever have another boy. Whenever the pillars of Christianity are going to be overthrown, our present Republican forms of government, meaning republic, and all the blessings which flow from them, must fall. George Washington: it is impossible to rightly govern the world without God and the Bible. And the last one I'm going to leave you with is not a framer. Actually, it's not either. Abraham Lincoln. And again, I know all these leaders have different perspectives on different things, but this is what he said that I agree with wholeheartedly. We the people, okay, that's us, are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts. We are not to overthrow the Constitution. We're not going to rewrite it. How could we rewrite it and include everything that's in there? Obamacare? How can we include that? We can't even afford it. Everybody's going to a 29-hour work week, so the rest of us who are still working 40 hours can pay for them. We already have that in play now. So, we're not going to overthrow the Constitution, but what we're going to do is we're going to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. I want to encourage you to go, and I want you to work hard. I want you to volunteer. I want you to go into the churches, the youth groups. They can learn this. There is no way that we are going to have the revolution that we need in America until people have a Constitution. It's not thick. Good grief, my kids read thicker comic books. Archie, remember Archie? It's 10 times this thick. Give this to them. Read it. Give them the background. Get active. Homeschool, church school, tell your friends. Once they have this information, when a candidate comes up, they can say, I wonder if he lines up with the Constitution. We can change while there's still chance to change. Thank you so much. God bless America, and I love you, patriots.